Good afternoon, everyone. Quick sound check. Let us know if you can hear us loud and clear. Hopefully, everybody had a good trading day today. Let us know in the chat if you can hear us, if you can see us, and how your day went today. What's going on, Coach?
Hey, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Um, yeah, it was quite a Monday. Typical. I stopped trading at about 10 o'clock,
Oh,
and I'm
nice.
glad I did.
Yeah,
I lost well.
that's
How
that's
about yourself?
it's always good. I had a decent day today. I was able to catch some of a short in the ES, and then traded these combines and mixed results, some wins, some losses. Ended up positive. How was your weekend, Coach? You have a good weekend?
You had a good weekend. A little hot here in Chicago.
Okay.
I think I, suffered a little heat stroke
Oh man.
yesterday. I golfed 18 and then barbecued, and I I haven't got my energy back
Yeah,
since.
enjoying the summer before it ends, right? We got to get outside before it
Oh,
gets cold because it's coming to New York. It's coming to Chicago. We all know
winter
it.
is coming,
It is
isn't it?
coming. It is coming.
It's
Well,
it's funny. I was listening to Sublime "Summertime,"
okay.
and living is easy. All I could think, summertime and the trading ain't easy.
Not easy at
Today
all.
was tough for me.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Could have been a tough day all around. And we'll get into that. But welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I am Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep Performance Coach for a little over a year now. We've been doing this At the Buzzer segment in Discord for about a year or so. But been with Topstep Performance Coaching for a year, been trading for about 11 years now. Started off trading stocks and options, and then moved over to futures about 5 years ago. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
yeah, I'm Coach Paul. I'm a Top Step performance coach. Been with Top Step for the last year. It's about the same time as Jay. I've been trading for a better part of 4 decades. I'm also a basketball coach and I'm a very amateur guitar player.
Oh yeah.
Um, oh yeah.
What's your favorite?
Um,
What's your favorite song on the guitar?
did I play as Johnny Cash? Any Johnny Cash? But Folsom Prison Blues is probably my favorite
Okay.
to play because I can play it well.
Not right. That yeah. The songs we can play are the ones that we have fun with.
That's the. But I play all kinds of music. I love all kinds of music. Um,
Very nice.
so I heard you write some songs, Coach.
Yeah, I used to write in college, write for myself, write for other people. I don't know how good they were, but yeah, used to write. Yeah, that was I guess, a creative outlet during college, which is, some fun during downtimes and anything like that. Did a few performances at like fashion shows and stuff like that during school times. A long time ago, long time ago. I haven't written one
Wow.
in a while, but yeah, you brought me back there. But
Oh, good.
welcome everyone. Let's get into it. We'll talk about the top percentage movers on the day. To the downside, we have the Mexican peso down 1.57%. We have nat gas down 2.75%, and we have micro Ethereum futures down 2.87% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. Ethereum futures were the top percentage movers a couple of times last week, and maybe just a retracement of some of that move there. To the upside, we have soybean meal up 1.18%, heating oil up 2.09%, and crude oil up 2.95% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. We heard about some, I think it was bombings in
Lebanon.
Lebanon. Is that right, Coach? Um,
Yes.
and unfortunately, we don't ever want to hear things like that. But we know that when we do hear things like that, it's going to affect the crude oil market. From a technical perspective, we saw it coming off the bottom around those 70s. But maybe some of this move being expedited by that news. All right, but let's get into the markets. We had a couple of trades on the house account today. Um, and it was a very interesting day where I think we talked about this the last time, a tale of two trades, where we had what looked like a trend day the first hour of trade, and then a very range bound day the rest of the day. Right after 9:30 Central Time, the NASDAQ was in a range and waiting. As far as news goes, it was a pretty quiet day, so not much to wait on. We had a durable goods number come out prior to the market open. The actual came out at 9.9%. What was forecast was 5%. So a big miss on that one. But I don't know
Wow.
that that's a number. Yeah, right. It's starting to sound like the crude oil numbers. Um, I don't know that there was much of an effect on that number on the markets. We can see it right here as an indicator on the Topstep X platform. Right, you can have these economic events on there, but if we look at the candle itself, there was not much of a reaction to that at
Yeah.
all. I think everyone's waiting for the Super Bowl on Wednesday.
What's the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl Wednesday is NVIDIA earnings after the close on Wednesday. That is what everyone's waiting for, I think. And it's going to be a big one,
Okay.
right? We heard Peter Tuchman talking about it today. He was speaking to Dan Ives, and he said it's probably the most anticipated earnings call in the last decade. And maybe it's everyone gets hyped up for it, and we don't see too much. But I think we'll have some fireworks for sure.
It seems like it was just a month ago that it was the biggest earnings report of the decade. Well, it
Right,
was.
right.
So
Just keeps getting bigger.
as NVIDIA goes, I guess the NASDAQ goes. But I'm a technician.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. So let's talk about what the Nasdaq did today. We'll look at a higher time frame to start, and I'm actually going to take these drawings off. We'll put them back on. I'm going to leave the top step levels on here, and I'll pull up the moving averages. We'll go to a 30-minute chart. Move some of this stuff over so we can actually see the chart. And kind of balance, right? Kind of in balance. All of these moving averages are wrapped around each other at this point. The 20, the 50 are again wrapped around each other, and the 200 is not far, right? 200 moving average on the 30-minute is right around 19,783. But this market is in balance right now. I think it looks like it's kind of topping out. And we talked about this a little bit last week, Coach.
yeah.
This high, I'm going to go to the daily real quick, and I want you to talk about this daily and that engulfing candle that we had.
Yes.
Does this look like a bullish or bearish pattern to you?
And it looks like a very heavy pattern to me. It's tired up here. It's finding, like you just said, it's finding balance off of the big run up from the break. And so we've gone sideways now, what, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days for the week.
Yeah.
So that is it's tired. It could, from my, just looking at it, it could go either way. And I just don't either piddle in the middle. Just
Stay
don't.
out of it.
For me, if if you're a range bound trader, you should be doing well. But just on looking at the chart, it could go either way. But it needs for me, I'm looking for a breakout. Most likely it's going to come off of the earnings report.
Right.
How about you?
Yeah, it looks like it's leaning bearish, but we are in balance, right? If we look at this entire down move that we had from the beginning of July, we're kind of just still hanging out in this. We recovered some of it, but the markets are just hanging out here, right? So to me, it looks heavy, but of course, anything can change and will change. And like you said, on Wednesday is going to be the big one.
Yeah, and remember this week it's the end of the month. Friday will be
Good point.
last trading day of the month. It's going to add a little bit to this. What do I mean by that? At the end of the month, let's look at the monthly.
Let's pull it up.
Be
Monthly
in
doesn't
prepared.
look great here, and I think it's because of the rollover. Let's see if the weekly looks a little better. Here you go.
All right. Now we're towards the highs of the month, aren't we?
We are.
And we're coming, and there's a big earnings report. It's the end of summer, getting ready for the next quarter. It comes after September. Um, this thing, are there going to be big capital commitments to buy
Mm,
stocks?
good point.
Um, it's a question. I'm not, I mean, it's just a question.
Right.
Um, could we just chop around until the election, or do we fall apart? Um,
All great questions.
I just think that it's funny. The average true range has just collapsed
It has.
in the equities. I mean, it's
Yeah.
come way down.
2 weeks ago, we were seeing in the NASDAQ, 500 points, 500, 600 points. We're back to normal, if you will, where I think when I measured today, the ATR on the daily was 350 points, which is what we came to expect for a while outside of that 2 weeks of craziness. But yeah, we're back to normal.
And one other thing, when we talk about ATR a lot, so for our newer traders, ATR stands for average true range. Throw true out, average range
Yep.
makes it much easier to me. Um, but there's two things to use it for. One I use it for mostly is to get an idea of how volatile the market is
Hmm.
in a time frame that I'm looking at.
Yep.
It tells me how much I can risk on average. If it's a high volatility range, I have to put on smaller positions. You can use it for that. Another thing is to measure the speed of a market. So on the break and rally, what happened to the average true range? It expanded.
Yep.
So when it's expanding, it's usually from a rally or a break, some kind of breakout.
Right.
And then when it comes back to normal, it can signal the end of a move.
Makes sense.
So we kind of like a rocket loses its energy.
Yep. That's what
And
this looks like, right? We
it does.
recovered off of this. We talked about a lot of this retracement move happening on lower volume, and then we consolidate. This looks like an accumulation phase, and then potentially a distribution phase. And again, to me, this looks heavy. I don't want to try to predict what's going to happen, but I'm just framing out how I would look at trades. And we're seeing a very similar thing in the ES. We'll talk about the ES as far as, we did have some house account trades in the ES today. Did take losses trying to buy the ES. But something I want to point out, and again, we'll look at it we'll look at a higher time frame first. Looks very similar to what the NASDAQ does. And, we kind of made this retracement move and we've been in balance for the last week. Uh, Decent ranges though, decent ranges to trade, right? Where we're still talking about the NASDAQ being in this range. There was a 300-point move to the downside still. So consolidation in this case doesn't necessarily mean lack of opportunity. It's where those opportunities going to come from. And then I want to go down to a smaller time frame on the ES, just so we can kind of see and frame out some of these trades. So we took some house account longs today in the ES, looking for, I'll put the Topstep daily levels back on here. We were looking for a break above last week's high, where we opened pretty much right below last week's high. Right, last week's high. There's a ton of levels here. Last week's high, yesterday's high, all around here. And the idea for the trade was a breakout long. If we look at how that trade played out, I have the 3-minute opening range framed out here with this purple box. We established that 3-minute range and never closed above it, right? There were no buyers up here to kind of push us up. I think we had some levels on the Topstep daily level sheet as well. I think all of us, Coach Paul, you, Coach Ray, Coach Vince, and myself had some levels in the 56, 70s that, we don't want to look at any of these as, this is a area to buy it or to sell it, but just an area of opportunity for the market. And in watching these, the market never got to any of those levels that we were trading, right? Watching order flow, there's no buyers up above here. So we had a trade idea on that was initially in the profit, but it was just, there was no other agreements in the market with that idea.
Coach, can I ask a question?
Sure.
When that happened, did you know the future?
Absolutely not. You never do.
So, and what I come to that is that this is trading.
Yep.
For those of you trying to just be correct on the trade versus trading right.
Yeah.
It took a loss,
Mm-hmm.
but that loss, when you look at if you get stubborn
Yes.
and wait for it to be right because you want to be right versus
Absolutely.
taking a good loss and not taking the beating that might end your account.
Correct.
That's the tough play. It's funny in review, you look at that. I'm not defending that looked really good for my swing trade. I was like, okay, it looks like we can go another level.
Right.
And like you said, what was it? 12 minutes later.
Yeah, it's sold off, right? And we don't ever know, right? You don't ever really know. You put on an idea, and I think what the team did well was manage the risk, right? And I think a lot of times, and Dakota mentioned this as well, a lot of times the P&L swings on that house account are kind of jarring sometimes because it's like, whoa, you guys lost, $6,000, $9,000. It's a bigger account, right? So the numbers are going to be bigger on both sides. So, whether that was a one lot micro or, a 50 lot mini trade, it was an idea that was, put out there with established risk. And one of the times that we're just going to get it wrong. It's a game of percentages, and we're not ever going to shoot 100%. Shouldn't even try to, I think, because you probably take less shots. You ever coach a kid that wanted to make every shot, coach? How many shots did he actually shoot in a game?
Oh boy, I've had that kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
How many shots? The one that's not going to miss.
right.
Um, and and a shooter's got to shoot, right? A
Correct.
trader's got to trade,
Yep.
but a, a shooter or a trader also has to know when it's not happening.
Correct.
So as a coach, as a kid, a shooter's one dimensional unless you have a shooter can play defense and says,
Right.
okay, I'm going to go play lockdown defense
Do something else. Yeah.
but if not, it's got to come out. Someone else has got a scorer or a defensive player.
Right.
In the trading aspect is play defense. One of the greatest ways to play defense is don't get in.
There you go.
If you're
not
losing
confident.
early and you're not feeling it, could be a day to just go,
I'm
not
not
my
seeing
day.
it well. Yep. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the Top Step Daily levels off for a second, and I want to go to something that we kind of framed out last week. And we'll look at this again in the NASDAQ as well. We had framed out this high volume candle that started at 9:48 Eastern time. Again, these are 3-minute candles, so it might be a little bit different on your time frame. But 9:48 Eastern time, the highest volume of the day last Friday. And that zone became pretty important in the ES, right? Where we had this sell-off, the market, to me, goes to fill some of these imbalances, right? There was probably a pretty big sell-side imbalance that we had here with all this volume. And then just kind of trading back to it, we can see this blue line VWAP here, the market holding under VWAP, looking to fill, it looks like to me at least, looking to fill this imbalance. So going into tomorrow, I'm looking at, hey, do we trade down towards the bottom of this zone, 56.16, and then of course the major 5600 level, which would kind of close out down back to the lows of this range.
Yeah, boy, that would be interesting because that low, Friday's low and today's low, we break those. Then what are we doing? We're breaking out of the range that we talked about earlier.
Yep. Yeah. If we break those lows, there is room to the downside for sure. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, let's go back to a 30-minute chart and look at that. Oh yeah, 5600, under 5600, it gets scary. And now we're talking about, or yeah, depending on what side you're on.
Yeah, it smells like opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else you got on the equities, Coach? I think until Wednesday, we're probably going to see a lot of the same price action, and
Yeah.
maybe not, right? I feel like I've said that, and then we get like a huge trend day that I was not prepared for. So I just want to make sure that I'm going in unbiased, and maybe with some expectations about what's probable. But of course, anything can happen. And you kind of got to remember that. Anything you got on the equities?
Much the same.
Yep.
Just be prepared. Also, if you have your process,
Mhm.
don't shy away from your process. I would say just don't expect too much.
There you go.
Sometimes we have big expectations. I have to make $500 a day. Well, there's days where even a skunk can't make a cent. And don't get caught when that happens of spinning yourself around or forcing. If you feel that, just stop, turn off the computer, and go do something enjoyable. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, this is work at the end of the day, right? So,
Right.
a lot of times we try to find escapes from 9 to 5s and things like that, but we don't think of trading the same way. If it's not going well, you can just walk away from the computer. That is an option. Speaking of, taking losses, big announcement this weekend, last night, Topstep removed the DLL from uh, new Topstep X accounts, right? So this is any account that is purchased after 6 p.m. Eastern time last night. Any new resets or XFAs on Topstep X are not going to have a daily loss limit, giving control back to the traders for you guys to make decisions. There's been a lot of conversation, top of conversation for sure. Uh, why are you guys removing the DLL and things like that? The great thing about Topstep X is just because Topstep removes it doesn't mean that you don't have to have one. And I'll go ahead and show you how to set that from here. So in TopStep X, I'm going to hit this settings gear and I'm on risk settings already. So you can see there's a couple of different options that you can have here. You can have a personal daily loss limit. You can have a personal daily profit target. You can set your risk per trade, right? So if I want to risk $250 per trade and save that, my personal daily profit target, this is set to 3,100 because of the consistency rule. This should probably be a lot lower. This is a 100K account. I'm thinking somewhere near 750 on this, where if I'm risking 250 per trade, 750 gives me 3 trades that are losers that I can say, hey, I'm not seeing the market well. I'm going to go ahead and get out from there. I'm going to set this to liquidate and block. And there's a couple options that you have here. You can set it to do nothing, which it's just going to do nothing. You can set it to liquidate, where it's going to close out your position, but you can still trade. Or you can set it to liquidate and block, where if you hit that personal daily loss limit, your account's going to get locked out and you can't trade for the day, the same way the current or the prior daily loss limit worked. Coach, what do you think about that, removing the daily loss limit?
Do it at your own peril. I'll be straight up on that. Um,
Not having one, you're saying?
do it if you don't. Yeah, let me get that straight.
Yeah,
If you remove it, you do it at your own peril.
yeah.
Um, we had this discussion last week, and I'll bring it up again. You can do it,
Mm-hmm.
but let me. Experience tells me when you are on full tilt, you're going to ignore just about everything
Yep.
because what you're doing, because the term comes from poker. And people, and people, poker players love someone and they can sense it. It's just chasing losses.
Yeah.
And when you're chasing losses, anyone, your best friend, your parents, anyone comes
Mm-hmm.
up to you and says, "Hey, you got to stop." First thing you're going to do is go, "Shut up,"
Yeah.
right? Or because you're in tilt, you're just like, "I can handle this." Whatever the bravado is, that it. I all I've seen I is it ends up blowing accounts
Yep.
up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say, you have choice, you have responsibility.
Correct.
From my experience, my first responsibility is to keep the account alive,
Right.
not to make the right trade. not to
Okay.
make money. Will actually be making good decisions and following my process. I'll make money over time, and I'm still susceptible
Oh yeah.
to going on tilt because
Right.
I am human. Although I may not seem it, right?
Right.
But I am human. And that's when it happens. So just having a setting, I have it tight on the combine of 150.
Okay.
I have it on $600.
Nice.
That's it.
Yeah. You
Because,
don't need more than that.
we could talk all we want about cutting your losses. This is I'm this is the best tool I've seen in futures trading for the average trader, that maybe the best,
Yeah.
because
Doesn't matter how much you
I've
can make if you don't control how much you lose.
and when you're losing control,
Yeah.
it's the best. I could think of 100 traders who really needed this.
Yeah. One thing that I want to say about it as well is, again, it's putting control back in the trader's hands. I think having a kind of a blank slate on the daily loss limit really makes the trader kind of sit down and think about what makes sense for me, right? A lot of people think that, hey, you're opening up this risk, and we should have kept it at $1,000. But I'm going to say that, $1,000 for 50K, 2,000 for 100K, and 3,000 for a 150K was probably too much for some people, right? Where if you were allowed to lose that $1,000 on a 50K account, but your average winning day is 250, then you had no business with your daily loss limit being 1,000 anyway, right? So maybe looking at your trading and finding what fits for you specifically is a lot better than an arbitrary number for an account, right? Because I think what happens is the traders who consistently hit it, you're thinking, well, I have more room in the account, so I'm going to go ahead and continue to trade, and it'll take you a lot to dig out of $1,000 hole with the way that your average winners look. So I think anyone who's going through the process of setting a daily loss limit for yourself, analyze your trading, see how much your winning days and winning trades look like, and then pick a number based on that instead of, hey, it's $1,000 because that's what it was set for.
And one last thing I'll put on that is that you can change that as your account gets bigger.
Correct. Correct.
That's the key. Like, okay, I doubled the account. Now I'm putting it up to 1,200.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
because then it makes a milestone, or it gives a positive reason. What we'll
Absolutely.
do when we're in tilt is, I need more,
Hmm. Yeah. No, you
right?
don't.
Ask, ask the people who run Vegas.
You don't need any more. They're going to give you more drinks at least.
Yeah, they'll let you go. Hey, bring your credit cards,
Right.
mortgage,
Right.
your Krugerrands, bring it all. We'll let you play. But it goes back to, ultimately it's your responsibility. So
Absolutely.
do it with great caution if you want to do it. I highly suggest not doing it.
And you heard it from two of us here. Coach Vince is in the chat, Coach Hoop in the chat as well. We recommend setting a daily loss limit. Find what works for you, and we will go from there. All right, that's pretty much it on
All
the
right.
equities. I do want to go back to the NASDAQ real quick. And, we framed out that high volume candle in the ES. I want to point out the same candle in the NASDAQ. And it is here. Again, it was 9:48 Central Time. And just paying attention to that volume, right? We sold through it, and it starts to act as a resistance, right? We had what looked like a trend day initially, 300-point move down, and then we started to kind of balance range below where this volume came in, which to me looks like, whoever sold in this purple box here is kind of holding the market down. Every time we checked up towards it, we faded, and just another, to me, being the volume analyst that I am, another reason to use volume, where someone traded these prices with a lot of size, and it looks like they're still there.
It's interesting. After that, that big candle,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening to VWAP?
It's starting to flatten out. Well,
Yeah, after it got crushed, but what price never got over VWAP.
mm-hmm.
Every rally was sold. I will not. Today, when I saw that, I said, well, I might get back in if we get close above VWAP.
Got you.
I took I took my early hits, and I'm like, okay, I'm just. I bought it off of a pivot. I bought it off of resistance, and then I'm like, this. But and then I looked, VWAP wasn't cooperating it.
Right.
If they don't want it,
Why do I?
I don't want it.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. Great point, man. If the person who can move the market isn't buying it, I probably shouldn't be either. So good stuff on the equities. Let's go to crude oil, which was the biggest percentage mover on the day, and then we will end it with gold. Uh, and the exact opposite. The trend was in crude today. Really nice trend up. We talked about, coming off the bottom of the barrel where crude on a higher time frame range likes to range between 80 and 71.50, it looks like. So at the end of last week, we kind of bounced off those 71.50s, and we are trading to the upper end of the range. It looks like a trend because it's a decent move, right? This is almost a $7 move in crude. But on a higher time frame, this still is very range bound. If we look at the moving averages on the 30-minute chart, they don't really tell you too much. We are back above the 200 moving average with the 20 and the 50 above those. And on the 30-minute coach, we're holding that 20 moving average.
Yeah. So tonight I would watch that early. I'm going to look for the first half an hour, and if it gets under a VWAP under the 20, I'm going to look
Mm-hmm.
for a short
Nice.
because, well, only because crude just rotates.
Yeah,
As we said, 80 to 70
right.
uh, until we can break out of that. Just most rallies look at that. And look at today when we've got above that 200. Was that was last night early, like 2 in the
So
morning with Europe, right?
so this is a 30-minute chart. So we got above the 200 on Friday. 200 moving average is this white one here.
Yeah, that was it.
But yeah, since we've been above that, we've just been holding that 20
Yeah, until the close here.
until the close. We technically got to close under it, right, for the first time since we crossed above that 200 moving average. So maybe a little bit of a relief. What I thought was really interesting as well in crude is, we did have contract rollover I think it was last week. We had this gap. I think I put this on the Topstep daily levels. Maybe I didn't. But we have this gap here. It's kind of rollover gap. We traded into that gap, and it looks like a kind of a double top.
Well, here again, it's interesting. We had that big move.
Mm-hmm.
What level was that high? I think the
The
high was
high of the day,
77,
77.61.
and we just went sideways,
Yep.
right? Now the 20 moving average, it's under, it's caught up. That looks like it, that looks tired.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe not even, a complete reversal of this move, but I can see what you're saying towards the downside, right? We get a close below the 20. The 50 is a target, and that's a dollar move.
Yeah.
That's a dollar move in crude, right? Where I'll take that. I don't need it to hit the lows to take a trade here, but that looks like some really nice potential there for sure.
Yeah. So that'll be actually, of all the markets, that seems to be
Mm-hmm.
well, at least today was the best opportunity that I see.
For sure. Let's just frame out the first 30 minutes of last night, and we can kind of see it again here. Frame out this 30-minute candle. A lot of the moves in crude have been happening prior to the New York session open.
Yeah, out of London.
Yeah, out of London, a lot of this move is happening, and then by the time we get to the New York session, it's a consolidation. Look at crude over the past week and a half, and that's the case, right? Where here's the crude oil open, right? The floor open in crude, which is 8 a.m. Central. By that time, the move is over. So if you're trading crude, maybe consider that, right? I don't know how many people want to wake up that early in the morning to trade it. Maybe you want to put a position on if you can, frame out your risk. But a lot of the move has been happening in that London session over the past couple of days.
Yeah, wow. That's bring that up, blow that up again. That was U.S. crude
Hmm.
today.
Yep.
That's a completely different story, isn't it?
Tale of two markets. We had a
Yeah.
trend in London, and in New York they were counting their winnings.
It's, hmm.
Two different
You know,
markets.
that's why looking at just the price change
Hmm.
doesn't give you the full tale, does it?
Correct.
Something to understand if you're new to trading.
Yeah, absolutely. Where it's, you could come to this market at the time maybe a lot of us are trading during the New York session, 8 a.m., and saying, hey, you know what, crude's up. I want to keep trading it. I want to join this trend. It's already up 3%. A lot of that move happened prior to, right? Where if I'm going to anchor a VWAP coach to the open, the floor open, look at the difference.
Yeah, and what was the initial balance?
Initial balance, the high was 77.58 and the low was 77.07. So the first hour of trade for the New York session, uh, there it is. And range bound market, which is, again,
Coach
there.
Vince?
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that, Coach Vince?
Yeah. Initial balance set, we can anchor a VWAP to that open, and this is a flat angle. Look at the difference between this one, right, where eventually we start to get a breakout when we see some volume coming in, and this here, right? Like Coach said, tailor two different markets. When I see VWAP this flat, I can't look for a breakout. Well, I can, but the likelihood that I'm going to get one is probably pretty low. Where if I see this, I'm thinking trade it like a range bound market. And Coach Vince just said it, range bound.
Yeah.
But
That's a perfect time when you have those extensions like that and you
mhm.
come into an opening.
Yep.
I think wasn't that what the S&P was Friday? Where
Yes.
we were up
Yes.
56 points.
Yep.
But and if you could be buying it and lose money, and that's where different styles. I want to, here's another shout out for Top Step. What you're learning, some of why you keep learning is you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
And you listen and you look at different styles, and you can find something that you didn't know that can help you in your trading.
Right.
Um, there's some really good coaches here. Some great education. Check them all out.
Yeah.
Learn different styles and different perspectives. I will tell this: if you challenge yourself, you could develop as a trader much quicker, and you'll have a much broader sense of how markets work.
100%. 100%. And Coach Vince has absolutely been killing it with the levels these past
Yeah,
2 weeks. And I say these past 2 weeks, and that's a discredit to Coach Vince because he's been doing it for a very long time. But he's been calling them out. And Coach Vince, my guy. Check out those Top Step daily levels, right? I'll do a shameless plug for those because all of us put our levels on there, but I will put that in the chat. Check out the Top Step daily levels if you have not already. We do have the Top Step levels indicator in Top Step X, but all of our coaches are putting in Coach Ray, Coach Vince, Coach Paul, myself, Coach Jack as well, putting levels on that Top Step daily level sheet. I would suggest just looking at them. If you don't use them, maybe just getting a general idea of where some of our coaches are looking for levels, looking for potential, can be pretty interesting. Let's move on to gold, coach. And gold looks a lot like the equities.
boy, what happened to the beautiful gold, the shining metal?
Yeah.
What? As soon as I started looking at it, it slowed down.
Love when that happens, right? It's like, oh, this market's moving. Wait, no, it's not. Um,
Uh, I'm going to threaten when I was on the floor. There's sometimes I'd go into a pit that was rocking and rolling. It was easy money, and I'd get in there and stuff would just fall apart. I
oh man.
was going to hold those pits to, hostage. Just pay me to stay away. Right?
Right.
As soon as I started getting interested in gold, it just slows down.
Yep. But not breaking down kind of in this balance again. We know we were making new all-time highs last week. All-time high in gold 25.74. But balance here. A little bit of balance. If we look at these moving averages, they're kind of wrapped around each other. The 20 and the 50 are above the 200, which looks like it's trying to trend up. Maybe just kind of this slow grind towards the upside. Volume has decreased. If we look at, if we look at the volume today compared to last Friday or even days prior, very low volume day today in gold. And we really just balance. Not too much to say about these markets. Again, this balance does not mean lack of opportunity, but it's a different type of market to trade, right? If Dolby is looking for a range, look at gold, right? If you're a range-bound trader, look at gold because that's what it's been showing, where some other markets may be trending. And what is this level here? 25.45. Why did we mark that one out? Oh, volume. The 23rd was last Friday. We had news. I don't recall what the news was at 9 a.m. Central Time last Friday, but the high of that news candle is important for some reason in gold right now, right? The market's respecting that level, holding above it. We can see VWAP starting to trend higher as well. So although gold is not really picking a direction, it's holding above where we've seen buyers come in the past.
And where is that gold VWAP from?
So this one is from, this is 2-day VWAP. So this is prior to the session. This is Friday session.
So those buyers is telling us those buyers are still in the market. We
Yep.
can assume.
Right.
Those central banks, excuse me, those buyers that are in the market are still in the market.
Hey, they're buyers either way, right?
They're buyers. It's very interesting, you know, and you don't hear me wax too much fundamentally, but
Yeah.
there's definitely a movement by central banks outside of the United States to own gold.
Okay.
There's a bigger play going on behind the scenes. That's why, and I don't want to get too far off here, but that's why bonds should be rallying harder, and it's kind of a sluggish rally.
Yeah.
What used to go into U.S. bonds seems to me is going into gold.
Interesting. And is that just from the movement that you're seeing, right? You're seeing more movement in
Yeah,
gold than it is. Okay.
I see the movements first and headlines second, personally.
Got you.
But that's interesting because that came before Jackson Hole announcement, right?
Yes, that's what it was.
Papa
That's what that move
Powell.
was. Yep.
Yep. And interesting because they're not going away.
All right.
Look at the daily.
Oh yeah, the daily it's
Right.
trend up, trend up, and again at these highs, it's going to slow down a little bit, but
I don't know. Do you want to sell that? Does that look like a high to you, Coach?
if I'm selling it, I'm not holding it for a long time. Maybe for a scalp,
Yes.
but no, not for
No.
any kind of reversal of the trend, not for a long time. And again, anything can change, but this market's not telling us that it's time to short it for any extended time period at all. All right, we covered the big four. I did want to go over the Dow as well. The Dow, new all-time highs on the Dow, is that correct? Yes, it is. The Dow traded above 41,500 today. The high was 41,67.2. So new all-time highs in the Dow. Wait, actually, no, that's not right. All-time highs in the Dow were 41,67.2 in July. We were approaching new all-time highs. I think I preempted that. My bad. I was too excited for air horns. So we were approaching new all-time highs in the Dow. We did not make new all-time highs. I think when I saw the market trading this morning, I looked at it and said, hey, I think the Dow is going to make new all-time highs today, and just did an update from there. Actually, what I saw in the Dow, and I want to talk about this a little bit, was this 41,500 level. As we were trading up there, and we kind of know 41,500 major psych level, right? Anyone's trading the Dow is going to know that we're trading up there. There was about 150 lots sitting at 41,500, which is a lot for the Dow. And we can see the reaction to it, right? We traded through it. Those orders were filled, but really no follow through. Very similar to what we saw in the NASDAQ last week, where there was some orders at 19,900. The market traded up to them, filled those orders, but we didn't get the immediate follow through afterwards, and then presented a really nice short opportunity. The Dow and the Russell, as far as the equities go, have been, to me, easier trades, if you will. I don't know, they're not some of the most popular, but there's less overlap in these markets, and a lot of time when they choose a direction, they continue to go in that direction. From what I've seen, at least for now, right? And that could change, where sometimes the Dow and the Russell are extremely consolidated, and the NASDAQ and the ES are moving. But we know with tech waiting for NVIDIA, NASDAQ may be pretty choppy. If you're looking for a market that's trading some wider ranges, maybe the Dow, maybe the Russell. Any comments on the Dow, Coach?
I didn't know it was right that close to all-time highs.
Yeah.
Would make sense. Dow is the Dow, it's I'm old enough to remember the first futures, equity futures.
Okay.
And I'm going to share it with you. The first equity futures, we talked about this, I think, a couple months ago.
Yep.
It was in the Kansas City Commodity Exchange.
Right.
The KC value line was based on the value line, if you even remember that. But why I bring that up is, as traders, we think of the S&P, the NASDAQ, but the rest of the world outside our little enclave, when they think of stocks, they think of the Dow. What did the Dow do today? And when you hear that, the Dow is, it's still, you're comfortable as from an outside perspective. Trading the Dow, the mini Dow, or the micro Dow, yeah, if you're having trouble and you still want to trade equities, check the other ones out.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I had, this 41,500 level written down in the Dow, like, hey, make sure you look at the market when you were around there. Took my eye off it, obviously, but it presented a pretty good trade opportunity, where we've talked about this before. Market pushing into a major level, cannot hold above that major level, and just a really nice rejection off of it. And a decent spot to limit your risk around some of these whole numbers. But we went over the big four. We went over an extra one with the Dow. Coach, anything on your scouting report for the rest of the week?
Same Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Still looking for buys. We had that gap open today. We've been looking at it since Thursday. Taking a breather, still above that VWAP from that rally, but still, I think that Bitcoin has bigger upside. You still like that trade.
Nice, awesome.
But I like that place for opportunity.
There we go.
And I'll repeat, these are not trading suggestions.
Not at all.
We are not telling you what to, we're just giving you our insights, and you can go from there.
Right. Yeah, because again, areas of opportunity where Bitcoin is trading really nice ranges right now, right? So there's opportunity to the upside and the downside potentially on a higher time frame. We are in a trend up, but if I'm looking at this, and again, I didn't look at this market today until now, but if I'm looking at this, we have this 6,500 level here, 65,000 level here, which major psych level, and look at it, right? Same thing we just talked about in the Dow, the market pushing into a major level, no follow through and a rejection. Very similar opportunity in Bitcoin as well. So, if you're not trading well, you want to look for an outside market, you want to look for an opportunity somewhere else, maybe do it in a practice account. But micro Bitcoin presenting some opportunities right now for us as well. Do we have any questions in the chat? Any questions? We got a few minutes. We got about 10 minutes left. Any questions from anyone in the chat? Go ahead, coach.
I do have a quick question for you, Coach.
Yeah.
When we come up to those major levels and you
Hmm.
see the volume, like you were mentioning in the Dow, there was 150 lot there.
Yep.
Do you wait be- till after that to see if there's a failure, or do you put an order in at that level beforehand?
So usually when I'm watching it, I will, let me go back to the Dow real quick. Uh, I'll watch the reaction first, right? Where if we look at where 41.5 was in the Dow, we traded it and then kind of consolidated around there. I won't put a blind order in there because a lot of times, or sometimes, the market can just continue to push, right? Depending on where some of these levels are, right? If I used, let's say I did the same thing at 41,400 in the Dow, right? If I did the same thing at 41,400, the market didn't stop there, right? It just continued to go. So what I like to do is identify that the market is trading up towards these levels and then watch the reaction, right? And now we can see we traded it, and then in 9 minutes, there was no follow through. These highs are now giving me the opportunity to say, hey, well, this is where the last buyer stepped in. If I sell it here, my risk can go above their position, right? So that reaction could have been just a blow off top reaction and continued to buy it. I'm going to be reading the order flow as we're doing that, but I want to see the reaction first, and then I'll take the trade from there.
Okay, yeah, that's because usually when I first started, I had that level. I'd sell it first and ask questions later, and I think
Yeah,
that led me to a lot of trouble. I like that insight.
and then if we
Sell the failure.
exactly, if we zoom out, right? If I go to a daily, what just happened here? I think Topstep just, let's see if I can refresh
It just
that.
shut down.
We're back up. I just had to do a quick refresh. If we go to the daily on the Dow, and I look at that 41,500 level, let's kind of just drag this out a little bit. I could have looked at, I could have, look left on your charts, but if you look left above 41,500, it's, whatever this candle is and then all-time highs. And that's just too much risk, where if this was the opportunity that the market was going to take and just run towards all-time highs, I didn't want to be the one trying to stop it with my two lots at 41,500 because I was going to get ran over. So I'll watch the reaction first, let all the buyers tell me that they're done buying, and then sell after that, where you might sacrifice trade location, but you get some confirmation that the market isn't going. And then if we anchor VWAP to the open, we can kind of see it, right? Where
Oh
we, we,
wow.
we kind of got away from it at these 41,500. You could even sell it below VWAP, right? Where, hey, buyers failed here. If they're still holding, they're probably shorter time frame buyers. And once we get back below that VWAP, we can see the acceleration, right? These shorter time frame buyers had to sell to take profits. That's kind of what that looks like to me.
Wow. But when you put VWAP from that opening, that set the tone.
And then it held.
And then it held. So lesson, when we're looking at all time or big numbers like that, I'm glad you brought that up. That you don't really want to get in front of it. You want to see what the results
First.
and then make a better decision. One of the things I've learned is there's a difference between trading price and trading price action.
Mm,
Whether it's a market profile or VWAP or volume and price alone, and from my experience, is not as good as price action
yeah.
or a market profile. Like all prices are not equal.
Yeah. I agree.
Um, so finding an imbalance inside of that gives you a better chance at a better trade at making good decisions.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Let's see what else we got. Give me 1 second. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I think that's it. I think that's it for markets. As far as news tomorrow, I think it's a pretty quiet week. If we go back to the equities, let's see what we have here. We have a consumer confidence number out tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time. Consumer confidence number looks like a high impact number here on Topstep X. So just be aware of that if you are going to be trading during that time. Again, that number comes out at 9 a.m. Central. That'll be during fast markets, so you'll hear the team mention it as well. Eddie's going to give us, the 10-minute warning, 5-minute warning before that number, just in case anyone's in a position. But outside of that, again, the Super Bowl is on Wednesday this year.
the the earnings report of the century
Of the century until next month,
until the next
until
one.
next quarter, right?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
We are doing a casting call. So we are looking for traders who want to come on to Topstep TV to trade with us, share their story. Everyone is welcome to apply, from live funded traders to anyone that's in an XFA. You've passed combines before. If you want to share your story on Topstep TV, I'm going to put the link in the chat to a form that you can fill out. Fill that out. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then the team will reach out, kind of go through an interview process, and maybe you get on Topstep TV. Maybe we can get some guests on here, Coach. Get some traders
Yeah,
on here with us for At the Buzzer. And
love
have
to see you, talk to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you're interested, again, I'll put the form in the chat a few more times for you there. And then remember that the show does not end with us. We're going to take a little bit of a break, but Topstep is pretty much close to 24/7 or 24/6, if you will. We have evening programming with Coach Dakota. He does slow markets every Sunday through Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. We have Nick Fortick with the Sunday Open. Nick did his third Sunday Open yesterday. And again, really good. I didn't get to watch it live, but I did go back and rewatch it. A lot of Nick's analysis has to do with volume. He brings in some of the options analysis, which I think has been affecting the equity markets. Really interesting stuff. And Nick's levels have been playing out based on that options information. So, check him out, take some notes there. And then, of course, we have Deanna, 3:30 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Thursday for the London Open. And D is just amazing. I get to do a session with D pretty much every week with the market talking. And a lot of times I kind of sit back and just listen to what she has to say because D is a wealth of information. And then Discord. We have Coach Vince kind of hanging out in the chat here. Shout out to you, Coach Vince. Coach Vince does a class in Discord, 7 p.m. Central Time every day, Monday through Thursday. And then Coach Ray, 6 p.m. Central Time, right before Coach Vince. So in about an hour and a half or so, we have Coach Ray in Discord as well. If you're not in that Discord community, make sure you go ahead and join that. Again, a ton of conversation going on there. Bunch of good traders. Shout out to the Coach J chat in there. I see some of you in this YouTube chat as well. Thanks all for doing that. Coach, you got anything before we go?
Last thing I have to say is check out all the coaches. Get as much information as you can. It'll improve your decision making and improve your trading. It's a great resource.
Absolutely. Best thing about it? Maybe not even the best thing about it, because it's great information, but it's free. It's free. You come, you hang out with us, you got tons of years of experience at no extra cost to you, and that is just Topstep giving back to its community. I want to thank everybody. A two-way convo helps a
Coach,
lot.
one last thing.
What's up, Coach?
Smash that like button.
Absolutely. I almost forgot. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you heard today, if anything we have been saying over the last week or so has been helping with your trading, or you just like hearing Coach Paul talk. I do sometimes. I just hang out. But hit that like button. Hit the subscribe. If you're already subscribed, tell your friends and family to subscribe. We are working towards, I'm going to say 200,000, right? Let's shoot for the stars. 200,000 subscribers on Topstep. But we need your help to do so. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Make sure you check out Coach Ray and Coach Vince in Discord, Coach Dakota later, and we will see you all tomorrow. Coach, are you on Topstep TV tomorrow?
Yes, I'm on at 11.
Nice.
Coach Dolby.
I will be watching that.
Thank you, and I look forward to being on.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you do trade, make sure you manage your risk and set those DLLs. Have a good one. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.